Bakers, and we're inside one of the coveralls that we house our flock of sheep. It's a 100-foot coverall, and we house inside this space anywhere from 100 to 150 ewes in here. The lambs have all been weaned, and therefore it's time to clean out the barn. It's one of the times of the year in which we do this task, and as you can see from behind me, Brian's got half of the coverall already cleaned out today. Well, let's take a look at the condition of the manure, because there's some different consistencies. Here you can see that it's there's a lot of straw still in it. It's wet. Over here there's some, it's drier, still a lot of straw. This part here where it's well packed, let's take a look. So it does come out in layers, really, and it's quite dry. This part's quite dry, but this is where they step up onto the concrete step, so it does get compressed because they're walking on it continuously throughout the day. Now let's take a look at the consistency of the sheep manure and see what that looks like. Alrighty, so I have some manure here in my hand. And you can see that they're little pellets. They're round little balls, and they're quite dry. They're not sticky in any way, and I'll just see if I can squish it with my finger. I'll just take one. So I have one, and if I pinch it, it just flattens out. It's very, very dry. See? It can flatten, but it still maintains its shape. So sheep manure is very dry, and if it's not dry, and if it's not like in a looking like that, and their manure is in any different manner, so if it's sticky or if it's loose, it's generally an indication that there's some kind of bug going through, generally. So we keep an eye on what the poop looks like, and it tells us how they're doing. That's made from 100% wood, and you can see that one disadvantage of this style of feeding alley, there's accumulation of too much bedding in here. It pushes in the bottom of the feeding alley, so we do have to be careful that it doesn't collapse on us. We'll take a look at what he's got with regards to equipment. Now, many of our tractors are older. This is a 7600 Ford with loader. And now he's using the 7710 Ford and dump wagon, and he's unloading the load of manure that he just taken out. So he uses a 7600 bucket at a time into the dump wagon till it's full, and then he drives it to the concrete pad where we unload and store. This is a storage area for the manure. This manure here is all sheep manure, and it is just from since over the winter time. So this will sit here for a year to compost until we're ready to use it. Well, it looks like he may have run into some kind of a glitch. He tapped on it and it opened up. So now we get to watch this thing here unload. Oh, it's pretty dry for sure. That's a motor, so that's another reason as to why it's important for us to empty the barns, the bedding from the barns, because it can get odor. There's a strong odor with it. I'm smelling it. I'm outside, That's part of the reason as to why we move the animals from the barn when we do it. We don't want to put them at risk for anything. This stuff here's been sitting here for a couple of months. I can't remember now when the last time we cleaned it out, but it's a lot of straw in here, so obviously it has a different consistency. This is on a concrete pad with walls that go about 4 feet high. So inside barn 3, on the left of the screen, we have the ewes that were in barn 2, and they're in here today while we clean it out so that they're protected from the odors that can come from the removal of the manure. And on the right side of the screen, you're seeing some of our lambs that were born in March, and they're all on this one side, and they're kept separate from at the bottom. We were just using the hog panels that we designed for lambing pens. We just use them because they hinge nicely together, and that makes the gate at the bottom to separate the 2 flocks. One bucket load at a time. Every operation does it differently. Here at Ambry Acres, the way we do it, because of the coverall, we cannot drive through barn. You can only enter from the one end. Therefore, we have to drive in, get a bucket load, back up, rather than drive straight through. Once the straw's put back in and the barn's completely dried and cleaned out, then the last step will be to put the feeding alley back on, and then the flock farm will be relocated back into this barn. If we had the time and ability to clean out these barns once a month, we would. However, we don't seem to have that option at this time. So we do it a couple of times a year. Once the concrete's all cleaned out and straw's ready to go back in, we fill it with a combination of bean straw and barley straw. They act differently, and we produce our own. We produce both the barley and the soybean straw, so we have that option to create that type of base. So this is how we haul in our straw. We got a steel wagon that gets pulled behind the tractor, and this combination of hay and straw. So we'd have to use enough equipment to get this job done. Regarding the amount of time it takes for us to complete this task from start to finish is generally we have to dedicate a full day to do that. The flock returns into the barn once 24 hours later. We like to let the dust settle, and we'll push the animals back in the morning. Not two farms are the same with regards to how long it takes them to clean out the barn and the frequency in which they clean out the barn. It just depends. It depends on how you put the straw, frequency of straw, the number of animals, square bales versus round bales. So for example, we have friends of ours that has a straw chopper, and he puts 1 bale into 4 of his coveralls, and that's it. Whereas when we put a straw bale, it gets put into just 1 barn, and we're lucky if it spreads evenly on 2 sides of the coverall. So he wouldn't have to empty his coverall from the bedding anywhere near as often as what we did. And when he does remove the bedding from his barns, he doesn't have anywhere near the depth of bedding, because he's putting a much smaller amount of straw in at a time in comparison to us. one is barley straw. Barley straw on the right, bean straw on the left. The bean straw is lighter in color. There's still some soybeans in there. Well, the shells anyhow. Well, that one's got a little bit of a soybean in there. And almost instantaneously. Go. This is barn 2, cleaned out. The ewes, the pretty ewes, the fluffy ewes. Hey, you guys are gonna get a nice haircut tomorrow, aren't ya?